Hi guys, this week has been having a lot of news, economic news, and also the market was very volatile this week. So I want to show you guys a little bit of my analysis and some trades I took this week. So looking at my economic calendar, my FX book, I've already filtered only high demand, high impact news, as you all can see. So on Tuesday, there were retail sales for USD. It didn't really move the market, but then because we had interest rate cuts, federal interest rate decisions, so interest rate was slashed by 25%, right? No, it was slashed by 50% actually. FOMC news, all these are high impact news. Then for British pounds, we had the interest rate decision to they maintain their interest rate, and also USD jobless claims, existing home sales. Japanese yen also had their own inflation rate, and Bank of Japan too also had interest rate decision. They maintained it, and also the inflation rate in Japan, or rather the JPY, is rising. So, and the British pounds also had retail sales on Friday. That was yesterday, and also high impact news is that made the market very volatile. So this week was crazy. We lost money and we got money too. So looking into my charts, I only trade one pair for now, which is the British pounds and Japanese yen. So what happened was I was selling this pair. Right? I was selling this pair because it was on a downtrend for long. This is a 4 hours chart, by the way. So looking at it, I had a trend line. At first, I had a trend line. So I was already selling since last week. I had a trend line from this point. Let me extend it. This is my 4 hours chart, by the way, because the market was making a lower highs and lower lows. As you all can see, lower highs, lower lows, right? So the market eventually broke my trend line on Tuesday. From this point, it made a double bottom at this place. So I didn't see a lower low. I now waited. I saw the market break this point. I didn't even take profit, so it hit my stop loss on Tuesday. So the market broke my trend line, but I still maintain the fact that it might actually still be on a downtrend. But let's watch and see, even because of the news, the high impact news that was coming out. That's the federal rates interest rate decision on the USD. So I observed what was happening, and I waited. If the market break my trend line, right, I was waiting to see if it will break this my swing high, our former swing high. The market broke that swing high. I switched to my 1 hour time frame, because why not? We still look at the lower time frames after analyzing from our top time frames, right? So I like to go to my 1 hour time frame. So I went to my 1 hour time frame. That's after the market broke my trend line. I still waited to see. Then the market broke this my swing high on my 4 hours, right? So when it broke it, I waited. There's what we call break of structure, right? So the market normally retraces back to where it started moving before it breaks our structure. So as you all can see, the market started moving from this point. This red line is our former swing high. That's from this place. This was our former swing high, right? So this red line is for it. So the market started rising from this point. Let me delete this and put it back so you all can see clearly. Let me also remove this trend line. In fact, let me remove all these lines, because I've already analyzed it before now. This is a market I'm always on, so my bad. In fact, let me also remove this line and let's go back and see how I actually did it. Right? Okay. So this is our former swing guy. After the market broke my trend line, I was waiting to see if it will break down my swing, former swing high, so we'll know that yes, this is a change of trend or break of structure, right? Rather than just assuming, because the market, if the market can break a trend line, but if it doesn't break former swing high, that means it's still on a downtrend. So it can still actually keep going down regardless of the double bottom it makes. The market can be crazy, so you just have to observe and know what you are doing. Now, this was our former swing high, right? I now switch to my 1 hour time frame just to see clearly, because waiting for 4 hours for a candle to fix, I have enough time to actually wait for the. So I now checked where the market started rising before it broke our former swing high, and the market started rising from this point. So I now marked this point because that was a break of structure, and I believe the market will come back to where it started rising before it broke, right? So I marked that zone and waited patiently for price to come back. So price came back on Wednesday to that point. That was this news that happened. Let me switch to my economic calendar. On Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, yes, the balance trade of Japanese yen and also the inflation rate. So that was what moved the market upwards. Now let's switch. I missed that entry because I was sleeping. I'm in Nigeria, by the way, and the Asian markets open around 1 a.m. So I had a hectic day, so I had to sleep. I don't have to be up every time, you know. So as you all can see, the market started rising from this point before it broke this our last structure, which is that our red line, you know. That's to show that change of characters happened there, right? So I waited for the market to come down. Let me see the market come down to this zone where it started rising before it broke that structure. So I bought, but I had a late entry because it was after these 2 green bars that I entered, but I entered right. So our next resistance was this next swing high, right? I was waiting to see if the market will break it. So I put my take profit at this next swing high, which is where this purple line is. Yeah, my purple line. That's even based on my weekly line. So I looked at the market broke it. I also waited to see if the market would come down to where it started breaking, but it didn't, right? So I had to actually put a trend line. I put a trend line because it has started making higher highs and higher lows, which is a trending market. So I put a trend line from where my market retraced after breaking, and I drew the trend line into the future. I didn't even bother following the trend line as it is. Just this first higher high that I saw, I drew this trend line into the future, right? I like to use red for my 1 hour time frame, so, and also just to make sure that it's from current interval and below. So I drew this trend line. The market broke. All these lines you are seeing are actually our last high, swing highs, as you all can see, and it's also in correlation with my 4 hours time frame. So the market actually broke our next swing high, and if you even check the candlesticks, I'm also noticing the candlesticks it uses to break. It's always a bullish candle like this. This an engulfing, right? This an engulfing. This was even during the Fed interest rate decision, the USD Fed interest rate decision, because I was live on this market actually. I was live on this market before I realized the market broke my next swing high and started making higher highs. I also made another trend line. But I removed it. So I noticed that the market started pausing around this point, like coming down, but my trend line was still active from that first break of structure, right? My trend line was still active and I was still noticing the trend line. But then I now noticed another lower lows around this point. Lower highs around this point, right? I drew a trend line. This even based off my 15 minutes time frame. I drew a trend line to see what the market was actually doing, right? To see where it will break to, because the market can be crazy and I'm not trying to predict, rather I'm trying to react by making use of my analysis. So I noticed all these lower lows the market was making, lower highs, but it was still in correlation with my 1 hour's trend line. This is a 15 minutes time frame, by the way. So what happened? This was on Thursday, as you all can see, 19th September. I was expecting this news. There was a news that was going to happen in the early hours of Friday, which was the inflation rate of Japanese yen and also the interest rate decision. So I was actually asleep, but the market came out. The news came out and the interest rate was maintained 0.25%, just like it was maintained. It wasn't cut or increased, and also the inflation rate in Japanese yen was rising. So inflation rate in Japan is high, right? So I expected the market to actually rise, and as you all can see from my economy calendar, the British pounds retail sales came out as expected. When you see this green, that it's even more than expected. That's like good to go, a rising economy, right? So I noticed it broke this our lower highs that I marked, and also in correlation with my 1 hour trend line, as you all can see from that break of structure. And if you can see this bar, this called an engulfing bar, because the opening closed above the opening of the last candlestick, which was the red bar, and from there the market just kept rising. As you can see, I was even in surprise, but that's the market for it. It kept rising up to our next swing high, almost, look at my 4 hours time frame. Look at the swing high. Look where the market went to from this week. So we are clearly on an uptrend, but still we are still considering a downtrend. But then let's see if the market still keep making higher highs next week. So my analysis is that I've seen what the market is doing. I'm waiting for the market to retrace back to this my trend line and see the candlesticks that will come out, that will print. I normally consider a bullish engulfing or a bullish pin bar for me to consider taking the market upward. So we'll take it to this next point, which is this 193.585. So basically, British pound, Japanese yen, in short, almost all the markets were volatile this week because of the Fed interest rate decision. The USD is king, so any decision they make actually affects almost all the pairs. But I actually traded safely. I didn't blow my account, though I lost money and I also made money. So clearly, looking at the market, we've seen that the structure has changed from a downtrend to an uptrend. And if you look at our daily chart, you also see a chart pattern that we call W, the market forming like a W pattern. Can you see? So we will see if the market will still reach this our 207.750 point, but I'm bullish on my British pounds, Japanese yen. So thank you for watching my video. If you've come this far, just said let me do some recap of my week's trade. And yeah, that's it. See you next time. Thank you. See, I record this thing. Is this one not record?